を打ち消し泣きゆくよ大丈夫君がここにいれば一人じゃないそれが勇気起こさせる不機嫌な空眩しいほど照らし出せる太陽になれる君と分かち合う希望と喜びクロスするその度深まる絆未来と現在パズルを合わせて心つながる僕らの夢証になる
Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Fan Project Reviews. I am Sid Partu, joining me today is...
A Geek for Fun.
Indeed. Today we're doing a review that Alfie's been pretty excited for, from what I can tell. You've been this one's been in your back pocket for a hot minute. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about the 2006 fan series that took Newgrounds and YouTube by storm, that anyone who's ever been familiar with sprite animation has at least heard of this. Super Mario Bros. Z.
Wow, all the way back in 06, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
It ran from 06 to 2012.
That is a long time for this little fan series. No lie. 6 years. And then, I text you just before we were recording here, and I was like, so does it really legit ends on a cliffhanger? And you're like, yeah, it stopped, and apparently they're rebooting this now?
Yeah, in 2020, the first episode of the reboot came out, with episode 2 on the way. But it's annoying. It's kind of the thing that always happens with fan projects, right? Is they will focus more on refining what they've already done rather than just continuing the story. And it's kind of frustrating for like a long-time fan like me who's just been waiting for so long to see where stuff were going, especially when they end it on a cliffhanger like this, where surprisingly, yeah, for like a sprite fan fight animation thing, which we'll get into, there is a surprising amount of like narrative here.
And I'd argue too much for my taste. I gotta be honest, I had a hard time with this one, just getting through it. There are things I definitely admire throughout that I'll talk about, but just on the whole, I did have just a really hard time watching all of this. The version I watched is like a 3-hour supercut of it on YouTube. It was one of the first things that came up. And Alfie, you said, make sure to space it out a bit to make it more digestible. And I think I actually did a pretty good job of it. I never watched more than an hour at a time, which I think is more or less what it wants you to do. It wants you to watch the episodes kind of back to back. Each episode ends with like a oh shit moment kind of thing. And so I'm sitting there watching the thing, and over and over again, I just started feeling really tired. The last 2 days, I watched this on my lunch break at work, which was like a big mistake because, goddamn, I came back from lunch and I was just like groggy. It was like coming in for the morning all over again. But it's a it's a really ambitious thing, but it's just so much about the format I found really, really hard to get into. '06 that's early days for a lot of internet stuff. I mean, you think about it, that predates Team 4-Star, these big internet fan projects, that definitely supersedes a bunch of them. So, I mean, it's impressive in that way, but at the same time, I'm like, there are format choices that really, really make it very hard for me to get into. For something that it has such a strong narrative focus, which I agree it does, whether or not it's a good narrative we can get into, it's a lot of dialogue, a lot of exposition, and that gets really hard to just constantly read. And try to keep up with. And I found myself, like, you look away for 2 seconds. I was trying to eat dinner while watching one of the episodes, and I missed some of the text on screen and stuff. I'm like, maybe they couldn't get voice actors, which is weird when they introduce voice actors for all of 2 seconds. But just, it's crazy how long this feels. Because of formatting choices like that.
I definitely can see that. Like, I noticed that too going through it as well. As one of the things that I can't help but just be very sympathetic to it. Because of... but it's funny as well, because after this I checked out the reboot, and I'll get to that. But like, I'm very sympathetic for the initial period of it, right, man? Because it's just one guy doing all the voice clips they use are like straight cut from the games. It will be like Bowser's roars, or Mario and Luigi are entirely just done through voice sound effects. And I think maybe leaning more to how they were done would have been the play, because I think Mario and Luigi are like the standouts in like terms of characterization. Luigi especially. Luigi's like the standout character. He's constantly funny, never says a word of dialogue because he never needs to, because they've kept those characters mute. And I think maybe if they just applied that, because you have to have talent to be able to make that work, and they do. If you maybe apply that to the majority, and maybe have a couple of characters here and there, like Professor Egad, who get to speak a little bit, it would have helped mitigate that quite a bit. And at the same time, you're a young animator and you've got all these ideas and you want people to get it. The first response is just to write it all down on text on the screen. Like, I've made that mistake as well, and anyone who follows on Geeks for Fun and has seen this series will probably see why I'm so into it. This is why DBDC is the way it is. This is why I have the text box format. This is why I am appealed to do crossover versus stuff in like other universes colliding and stuff. This is basically Sonic and Mario. Like, if it was like Dragon Ball DC, right? Like, it's even without me noticing it at first. When I've come back and rewatched it, I've seen so many things like, oh my god, this is just imprinted on me. This has been a formative thing. So I can recognize that, and I can see some of the same mistakes I make sometimes in this. So it's interesting. It's such an interesting experience coming back to this. But yeah, I definitely think you're right. It is hard looking at it objectively without like the nostalgia goggles on. It is hard to justify the amount of text there is for, although while I say there is a narrative there, it is not a complex narrative, and there is over dialogue. You do not need nearly the amount there is for the plot progression, which is very simple. We need to go get this thing before someone gets this thing. It's a video game plot, right? And Mario plots do those all the time without ever having to do voiceovers. So did the classic Sonic games, etc. And even the adventure games, they never have long speeches. It's always just like quick cutscenes before the action. So you're definitely right. That is probably the thing, and the internet references of the time are the thing that dates us the most.
The internet references I thought were relatively fine. You know, you get the over 9,000 joke twice. There's a couple gags here and there that are like fourth wall breaky, but nothing like overly. It's not like they're like, oh well, thanks Obama or anything like that.
But like it was just such a throwback coming back and seeing peanut butter jelly time for the first time in a decade.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. There's stuff like that that's, you know, I didn't even realize that was a peanut butter jelly time joke. I remember that, and yet I didn't catch that because, yeah, it's just so dated that it's not in the public consciousness anymore.
Yeah, it's gone so far that it's become like, oh, that's cute. Like become a meme all over again now. It's like SpongeBob. It's just endlessly repeating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like, I don't know. I didn't think it was like overly dated. I did just think like, especially given how long it ran, like if it were the first 2 or 3 episodes were, you know, all of what the entirety was, that'd be one thing. But I really do feel like at a certain point this should have had voice acting. And it doesn't have to be much, but it's just there's so much dialogue, there's so much talking. That whole episode that they're in Minus World is just walls of text, and that got so hard to watch through. That it just, like, you know, Professor Goomba or whatever it is talking at you, and it's just there's so much that reading. You know, I was sitting there watching the final episode of this with Haley, and sometimes the gags do work as strictly just reading dialogue. It took me a minute to realize when the one Koopa's trying to shoot Mario out of the sky, he's speaking Scotty, not Scottish, Scotty. Mm-hmm. Pushing it as hard as I can, Captain. That is like literally, it's in phonetics on the screen. That's really funny, especially like I even got a laugh out of it. And Haley looked at me and goes, I'm surprised you're enjoying this given how much you don't like subtitles. And I'm like, actually, that's my biggest problem with it. So I don't want to be too negative. I do want to focus on some of the other cool stuff. So let's transition and talk about the animation for a bit.
Yeah, that's the thing that got this so big. And that's the thing that this is so fondly remembered for. Till this day, I see tons of people who are sprite animation say this is where they got their start. People who've worked on Death Battle, Hugins Dojo, like all the big sprite, like do Dragon Ball fighters now, they will always reference this. And this was definitely the thing that paved the way, because when this came out, I remember there was nothing like it on YouTube. There was no fan-created things that looked and moved this good. Obviously, they're working with pre-made sprites, and they don't have to worry about animating the whole thing, but it is still incredible to see this kind of level of fluidity that you would only normally get with, like the stick figure fights were big at this time as well. But, like, that's one thing when, like, it's just stick figures. Getting to see Mario and Sonic running along on a doomed Yoshi's Island, running up mountains and colliding and teleporting stuff with Dragon Ball Z sound effects and power-ups. Like, it was insane. It blew my mind, and it blew millions of other people's minds. And it's kind of got that, like, because this is a re-upload, all the original uploads were deleted. These ones only are about, like, I think it's like 500,000 views or something. And that's crazy when this is still published so recently, and it's still in people's minds that they'll check out their channel. Normally when people have breaks for that long, people don't go to them. But like the original episodes, I remember they were like in the millions. And these things just, it's such a smart idea. And I always like to emphasize when a character from a thing you're used to is put in a new setting and you get to see them act in a way that doesn't immediately spring to mind, but when you see it, it's like, oh, I needed that. So then Mario, Happy Mario, Nintendo PG character. Never thought I'd need to see him do a Fire Flower Kamehameha, but I did. Like, I needed that in my life, and it was hype. So all of that things, I think, is why this struck so good, and it is definitely its biggest strength, is all the action sequences in this just keep getting better and better and better.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. Particularly with just knowing that they're all pre-made assets, and just you're kind of wondering what he's going to pull next. And some of the surprises are so cool, You know, the thing, and I think I'm probably not alone in this, the thing I kept thinking of while I was watching this is just how much it proves a Sonic Mario adventure game platformer would work.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, obviously we have the Olympic series, and those are kind of fun party games from time to time. But, like, just the concepts of, okay, yeah, let's give Sonic the Fire Flower. It's such a cool idea. And it goes absolutely ham when we see it finally happen. It's such a great moment. The idea of, like, okay, what happens if Sonic absorbs a star? And it's like, okay, it goes super, but it's really limited. I'm like, okay, that's a neat one. I don't know if I would have gone in that direction, but you know, it's a cool idea. And it just kind of makes me think, like, how cool would it be if you had a game where the MacGuffin is they can only use each other's power-ups. Like fucking Mario with the flame shield and shit. That'd be dope. You know, stuff like that. And I think it works better for Sonic. I think, admittedly, Sonic with the Fire Flower, Sonic with the Star, Sonic with the Mushroom, those are all really fun. Whereas, I don't know, like, Mario with Speed Shoes, and, you know, compared to Sonic with the Cape, kind of thing. They're not quite as good, but they have their moments. Like Sonic with the frog suit is cool, but you get some cool stuff. You get like Mario going super with the Chaos Emeralds would be dope.
Like what would that even look like, right? Like there's stuff like
he would
that.
Just go Super Saiyan. He would just be Super Saiyan at that point. There's no way you get around it.
Spiked up mustache like Nappa has.
I don't know. So like the concept that this just kind of proved how much, like how cool that could look, how fun that could be, and yeah, you kind of watch it and you're like, oh, I mean, I just want to play that now, and that's I think part of why the fight scenes work so well is you kind of just that's what you're doing in your head when you're playing video games. I feel is like you're imagining it that way, at least when you're a kid. Compared to what you're actively doing on screen, which is jump on the guy, jump on the guy, jump on the guy. But like Mario and Sonic jump out of the airplane and fucking, you know, dodge and weave and ride the bullet bills down back to the Bowser ship. That's so fucking cool. I love shit like that.
It is definitely the thing that is so appealing to why these aesthetics work, and they've even talked about why they chose those specific sprites is because of these two sprites from the Mario and Luigi series and from Sonic Advance. They were the two sprites that looked the most aesthetically pleasing together. He was running after he used the Super Mario World sprites and like the Sonic 2 or Sonic 3 sprites to get that classic look, or this and this and this, but it's just found these were the ones that just looked like, yeah, that's a crossover. They work on screen together. I think it helps that they both came out on the Game Boy Advance, so they were both published on that hardware. It just makes you look at a screenshot of this, you're like, you could believe, oh, that's like a game cutscene or something, right? I desperately think that's something we need, and it's something the fandom I also think needs. Is this this also happened during the time where like the Mario and Sonic wars were still going. Like this was just post Sonic 06. So Sonic was like everyone was shitting on him, and then Sonic fans got super defensive, and it's where you see a lot of the Sonic memes we have today came from this rough time period. But like this was such a good positive thing that people latched onto from a community of just like, yeah, Sonic is around, but look, he can work just behind Mario, and like, yeah, he's an equal with him, and he's helping him, and they play off each other really well. You've even got Shadow there, and Shadow got shit on a lot, and like there's a really good impetus to why these characters who are seemingly so like opposed, like Sonic was created to be the anti-Mario, really do fit together so well as in the same like a Batman and a Superman do, right? Is like Batman and Superman diametrically opposed, put them in a team up, for some reason just clicks. And I think the same should be said for Mario and Sonic. What I also like about this, as well as in the fight scenes, normally when we get animations with characters, they normally decide to, okay, I've got a cool idea for a fight scene, and I'm going to use this character because I like this character. And they kind of pick those two and merge them together. This does the great thing where everyone fights how you would imagine them to fight. Like, Luigi is just, like, falling over himself all the time and, like, accidentally taking people out. Like, Yoshi, his fighting style is fucking dope. Like, he throws the eggs and, like, like, combo together. Mario's always using items and weapons and stuff, and then Sonic's just, like, a speed blitz. There's even that great shot. And it's like, Joss Whedon must have watched this, because he fucking copied this. Where, like, we get the whole battle, and the character we're focused on is Sonic, and we use Sonic to travel across the whole battle to see the individual different battles. And that's what they do with Iron Man and the Avengers. It's just like, that kind of stuff. I'm like, this was a fan project with Sonic and Mario from, like, the late 2000s. Like, that is crazy to me that they thought of stuff like that, with just the level of care that goes into that stuff.
No, absolutely. I love a lot of the design choices of just how they put the battles together and everything. I think Mecha Sonic makes a really good villain. I'm still kind of salty that Eggman gets kind of this backseat, and we never, or maybe in 6 more years we'll get to see exactly what he's
It's like
do,
they set him up so well, like he's gonna be this big, he might be the overarching villain, but never gets paid off, man.
Yeah, because like he's kind of like this, oh yeah, sorry Lord Bowser. I'm like, nah, dude, Bowser, you're getting straight fucked in a minute here. And nope.
Right?
You're getting straight fucked in half a decade here, Bowser.
Keep waiting.
Yeah, so like shit like that is really cool. I do like Mecha as the villain. I think he works really well. The fucking idea like Mecha Sonic with just 4 Chaos Emeralds is completely outclassing all of them. I think that's really cool. There's a lot of fun to that one. It does feel a little underutilized that Mecha's after the Chaos Emeralds. It seems that like you're missing kind of the MacGuffin of the Mario universe to be added in and counteract, which I thought that's what they were going to save the stars for. And then they just kind of used the star pretty early on, all things considered. And I was kind of hoping that like, oh, Mecha was going to get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, but then Sonic was going to get a star or some shit like that. It was gonna flip the tables on him.
In the opening, at least, they do reference the I don't know what they're from. I think it's like Paper Mario or something. It's one of the RPGs. They reference the special stars. Like, I don't know what they're called, like the Star Spirits or something. But they've got like these little things around them that they look. Each of them wearing like a different style of article of clothing, like a Greek kind of thing. And that's in the opening. So I think that was going to be intention. Is that was going to be the thing they used to counteract it, was that late game Mario reveal. Because there is that upper echelon of like high tier Mario shit that comes from like the RPGs, which I've read a little bit of like what was planned for the future episodes. And they do mention a lot of stuff from like Paper Mario and Mario RPG, because that's where you do get the more, I guess, esoteric Mario type of items and stuff, like the things that could conceivably fight the Chaos Emeralds.
The esoteric Mario items.
Dude, you have no idea, man. Mario survives a black hole in galaxy. Like, this dude just got some weird shit.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you feel that it was a mistake to use Shadow and not Tails in this?
No. I feel like the biggest mistake is that all the heroes we love and care about get brutally murdered kind of off screen. And that's something that even when I read up, is like, oh well, maybe they'll find a way to do it, but apparently the intention is Sonic and Shadow were just going to live in the Mario world from now. I was like, oh, they never come back? This is a Dragon Ball parody. Like, you gotta at least do that. Everyone comes back. That's kind of bleak. And Mecha Sonic just killed everyone. So, like, that was something that I didn't like. I would have liked to see more of the Sonic cast. But I also just think of the group dynamic. You need that Shadow presence. I feel like Shadow adds so much to that.
I think my argument is, I feel like it should have been Sonic, Tails, and Shadow. for the very specific reason that we're following Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi. You know? The fact that you've got this weird dynamic of 3 and 2, it makes Yoshi feel like kind of tacked on, and I don't know, it feel like they're basically fucking using Tails anyway with what they do with Professor Egad, you know?
That's true.
Like, that's not that dude's character necessarily. He's not Mario's Q. He's Luigi's Q in the Mansion game, sure, but he's not Mario's Q. Like, it just, particularly with the plane, felt the most off to me. I really feel like they wanted Tails there, and they kept having to go to Egad to make it happen. And it's even more in particular because once they introduce like the suitcase, it's basically just a Tails clone at that point. I really do feel like Tails should have just been there along with Sonic and Shadow.
No, that's a very strong point. I do agree now that you've mentioned it. I didn't even think about that, but you're 100% right. It would have been a nice balancing force. And again, would have helped that backstory seem a little less bleak if at least like someone else was alive. And that's something I want to talk about, because one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this with you was specifically the Metal Sonic stuff, because I remember we had that talk in our Metal Sonic discussion video about like, we were like, oh yeah, we'd like to see Metal Sonic do this big villain thing, and like, why are there so many different Metal Sonics, and why does this one do? This is the only thing that's ever got into that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great plot for him. He works really well as a villain of this just like artificial Sonic that keeps getting better and better, and eventually, you know, conceivably Eggman should be able to outbuild Sonic. Sonic's got just a pretty standard set of abilities. Eventually Eggman should be able to create something that could checkmate all of them, instead of just giant robot that like I don't know. Right. This is getting too complicated, so I'll be brief about it. When you look at Eggman's boss fights in the first game, they are pretty just like random. It's just like, oh, this will probably kill him. This will probably kill him. By the time you get to the second game, they're a little more complex and they feel like more specified to the situation. And then the third game is got just it's absolutely insane. Like all the detail in it, it's so manipulated to deal specifically with Sonic and stuff. There's just so much going on that it feels like it's this evolution of Eggman getting better at anticipating Sonic. And you know, Sonic's moveset in those first 3 games, he gets a spin dash, right? That's it.
He gets the spin dash and the Insta Shield in SA3, the Sonic 3,
right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So like, it's not much. Sonic doesn't really evolve much with the power set in those games, and Eggman's arsenal and specialization of things to take out Sonic get better and better. And so conceptually, if he makes Metal or Metal Sonics or Mecha Sonic, whatever you want to call it, it should very quickly begin to outpace Sonic. And so it's a cool idea. And I think it does really work as a villain. Just one other thing I wanted to mention real quick about the no, I fucking lost it. Never mind. It just leaped out of my head. I'm sorry.
Did you catch whose voice it is for Mecha Sonic?
No.
It's Cooler.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just his little Cooler's voice clips. And that's kind of become like a meme throughout like Dragon Ball fandom and Sonic fandom. Is now everyone just like, if Metal Sonic ever talks again, he needs to be voiced by Cooler's voice actor. this series has made Metal Sonic's definitive voice the "I'll crush you." Like, it's just it's too good. It fits him too well.
I mean, it does. I just assumed it was another, you know, Sonic Advance game that had some Mecha Sonic or Metal Sonic voice clips, to be honest.
No.
It's I didn't realize it was Cooler voice
in
clips.
Heroes.
That's funny. that's some good shit. I wonder about how this was was compiled. I don't know how they get into these games and rip all their assets out of them. It's kind of fascinating.
No, for sure. Like, especially for like, when they start doing work with like the backgrounds. Like, how do you cut the island in the background from Mario in half? Like, how do you do that?
I mean, I think that's the easy thing. Like, once you've got it on your... once you've got the files, the images, just as images, that part's the easy thing. I'm just more impressed with, like, the... how do you get the... because it makes more sense to me with, like, Sonic Generations and stuff, how people are able to access things, because there's a PC release. Just immediately that door seems to open. You mentioned these are the Sonic Advance sprites. Mm-hmm. It's on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, well, that's just because they probably rip it from emulators.
Maybe. That's a good point. I'm just like, just that whole process just blows me away of like how they even get the assets to begin with.
Yeah, and even that blew other people away because, like, a little bit of trivia is, they had to do a whole update to Newgrounds, just so they could release the episode where, like, Sonic goes fire, because it was too big for the site at the time. So, like, because he was one of the most popular people, he was actually friends with the people who ran Newgrounds. They were like, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll accommodate you," which is fucking insane to have that kind of pull.
Could you imagine YouTube doing that for literally anyone?
Right? It's just like the opposite. YouTube were like, "We'll make updates," which means you can't do anything.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Like, not to get too into things, but like, we've been watching the Game Grumps Resident Evil playthrough, and they're having to censor moments from the gameplay, even though they're like, 20, 30 minutes into the episode because, it's too violent now and we'll get demonetized. And I'm like, geez, it's called fucking Resident Evil. Like, who is letting their toddler watch Resident Evil? Just goddamn. What advertiser is comfortable advertising on something called Resident Evil, but only if they cut out the most gory bits?
It's insane. We live in a mad, mad world. A world where this has resurfaced. See so many comments on the new reboot. It's like, 2020's been kicking our ass with Super Mario Bros. Z's back. An easy price to pay.
So is the new one just like, it's just a reskin? Did they get voice actors in? What's the update
that's the thing I'm most annoyed about. Is it's still the text boxes. But this time it's progressive text, so like it's not just the text at a screen like I do, it's just like as if it's being typed out.
That's distracting.
Yeah, but like that's the thing when I watched it and then I saw some of the clips, is like, okay, the animation's even better now. Like it's the first episode is the only one that's out, and it's the Mario versus Bowser fight. And that looks gorgeous. They go all out with that. Like, it looks as good, even better than like the final ones of this do. But it still has those problems that I will excuse for some guy doing it on their own in that time period. But now that you've got such a massive following, I am a little less like, well, I can get voice actors, and like, you've got a much smaller cast. Everyone thinks they can do a Sonic voice. Like, you still don't have to do Mario and Luigi. Like, it is one of those things.
At that point, maybe it is just the aesthetic choice. Then,
yeah,
I think.
I think that's just why it is. I think they got rid of all like the older references. But as I was watching it, I was kind of like, well, even the dialogue, some lines are still exactly the same. It doesn't feel like it's a reboot. It just looks like it's like a HD remaster. And that's disappointing because I would have liked to, because as much as I am nostalgic for this, I will be like, say, well, like, Sonic doesn't get a character arc in this, Mario doesn't get a character arc in this, there's no meat to this, really. It's just a progression to fight scenes, and it's fine for that as it is. But if you are like, no, I'm gonna scrap the whole thing because I'm not happy with it and I want to redo it from scratch, and you're gonna put the effort in to do all these new things you've done from scratch when what you had already was still just fine, then you probably should be focusing on the things that were the weak point, and that wasn't the fight scenes.
So, like, you've been saying something, and maybe I'm just crazy, or maybe I was just not paying enough attention. Does Mario literally never talk?
Yeah, Mario and Luigi never have text boxes in this.
Wow! How did I not notice that?
Because it was seamless.
Like, yeah. Because, like, I thought it was weird. Like, you don't even understand how weird it is. I didn't notice it until the episode for Minus World, when Mario specifically doesn't talk. And yet, I just assumed he was talking again. God damn, that's crazy. Yeah, that works really well then. That's pretty damn funny. I can't believe I didn't pick up on that at all.
It's like, if you wanted to, like, we've got the Mania sprites now, and people do shadow mods. If that was the thing that worked, and you still couldn't get voice actors, I think there is something to do. Like, okay, let's go full classic. How would Nintendo do this? If it was Nintendo, they probably wouldn't do voice acting. I know they've changed their stance a little bit with Breath of the Wild, but for the Mario games, they still keep it basically just like grunts and one-off phrases.
It's a me! Yeah, stuff like that.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's the thing that made this a little bit bittersweet, because I was kind of excited. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this with you and get a refresher, because I deliberately haven't watched this whole thing, and then I'm going to click on the next one. So I watched all this, and I had a good experience with it. I was like, that was nice. That was nostalgic. Obviously, it will never be as good as I remember it when I was like in that perfect, when's the next episode coming out, like, mindset. But it was like,
when's the next one?
Yeah,
God,
right.
When? WEN, when?
I was that dude. But like, yeah, you have that thing, and especially like, again, now that I'm doing something similar, I thought it was a good learning experience, and it helped like solidify like my passion for my things, kind of in touch my roots. But then I also had the weirdest thing where like, you grow up with content, and now I'm making DBDC at the same time that Earthworm Jim's making Super Mario Bros. Z, but he's still making it like he did in 2006, and I'm not. Like, that's just weird to me. There's been an evolution there, and it's almost like the angry video gamer nerd effect, right? Is where that someone's so entrenched in what they are, they still kind of don't evolve with the new. They have new techniques available to them, but they don't choose to use it, or they don't realize they should use it, or whatever. Like, it's part of me wishes this had happened like a couple years earlier when we review this, because people don't review these things, and I think this is an important reason why you doing this project is important, because I feel like if we could have said this to someone before they decided to do a reboot, that just second guessing might have been like, oh, maybe I should get voice actors. Right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if you didn't want to go voice actors just for the aesthetic, I think then you gotta just at the very least tighten up the dialogue significantly. Like, you know, the thing I guess I'm surprised by, with millions of views, you think someone would have just voice acted the fucking thing and done a fan dub at some point.
Right, that's true. But to be fair, the guy's apparently very like stagnant on like spin-offs, and like people have tried to do like their own continuations of it, and he's been very like that's not real. Don't do that. So I imagine a lot of people would probably scared to do that.
Your version of my fan project that I spent, a decade or half a decade on and then left to languish isn't the real thing. Yeah,
right. It's like, I don't know, man.
That's a little silly to me.
That's a little bit of a dick move.
Yeah, I don't know. There's the outrage against using fan-made content and other fan-made content is something I have a hard time wrapping my head around. But whatever. Alrighty. Anything else you want to talk about with this, or should we go on to ratings? Oh shit! Okay, I remember the thing earlier about why I thought Tails should be here.
Oh, yeah, nice.
The other point I had. Okay. I think Tails also would have allowed Sonic to be a little more Sonic. Sonic is, of course, a nice guy, but he does have a bit of an attitude. He is a bit impatient, and because he has to be the rational one to allow Shadow to be the impatient one, Sonic's a little out of character for how I would like him. Whereas I feel if you had Tails here, trying to deal with, like, you know, you have Tails is the responsible one, Sonic is kind of neutral, middle ground, and that would allow you to just have Shadow going off the fucking rails. So that's my piece on also why I thought Tails should have been here. But,
no, I think that's a really strong point. I do also think, because this is also influenced specifically by the Dragon Ball Z dub, I see a lot of superhero Goku in how Sonic talks here. Which is, again, is like, if that doesn't already work for Goku, it sure as heck doesn't work for Sonic. So there's some things there that I would like a little bit like, like, I also wonder like how much of a Sonic fan they are. So even like so much of this is Mario references, like especially like deep Mario references, like the Axum Rangers and the Koopa Bros. Those are like you tell that to like a person who just played like the 3D Mario games, like who? So those are some more obscure characters, whereas like the Sonic one is just kind of like, the Death Egg crashed into the ground and destroyed the planet. Well, the Death Egg crashed to the ground quite a lot actually. It's been fine. So there's stuff like that, which makes me wonder is like, I definitely see the Mario focus here. And one thing I want to talk about just before we close up is your thoughts are like, I want to tell you some leaks for where this would have gone, and I want to hear your reaction to this. So the plan was 2 seasons. The season would have been the Mecha Sonic season, and when Mecha Sonic gets all the emeralds, he decides to start a tournament, and it would have been a Sour Games type deal.
I could see it. I think I could see that more as the idea. I don't think that works in the way that the series presents itself. Mecha Sonic doesn't seem like he's really into it for a challenge. He seems annoyed that he keeps having to encounter Sonic as opposed to excited about it, in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think that works in character, but I think that's a fun idea.
And then there would have been a movie in between seasons, and the villain of the movie would have been Chaos. And that would have been interesting to see how you do a Chaos sprite fight.
Yeah, because does Chaos have sprites?
Yeah, he's in Sonic Battle.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That would have been cool. You got like plenty of assets. I could imagine that working. Particularly with the fact that Mario and Luigi can swim. That could be fun. You could do some cool stuff
this is like Sonic's like, wait, you guys can do that? Like, yeah, problem. Just like, god damn it. He's like, Mario's just kryptonite to Chaos. He doesn't need to go super, just like swim up to his head. Like the Mario, that's a Mario Maker level someone needs to make. Swimming through Chaos.
That's a cool idea.
That's so cool. Yeah, so like that would have been a thing, and then after the Chaos thing, there would have been the second season dealing with a Mario RPG villain. No, this season would have been focused on a Mario villain as like the Mecha Sonic, and it would have introduced Blaze the Cat.
Okay. God, banging and blazing before Tails, huh?
I know, right? Well, there you go. And then it would have ended with another movie that they did not discuss, but a lot of rumors is that would have been called Mario versus Sonic. So I mean, who knows?
Yikes. Yeah. I don't know. The idea of, I don't know. There's a lot there to unpack, but I just don't know if I could get into it. There's problems I think in doing that. They would have done a Mario villain, so fucking Mecha Mario was gonna be just in this first season. They weren't setting him up for anything else.
No.
That's a weird choice. Okay. Basilisk is a late edition and stuff, so yeah.
He's an OC.
Yeah, no, I figured. He's a kick-ass OC.
Oh, hell yeah. I would love to see that.
And I love his motivation so much. You fucking hypocrite. You use my friend's body to kill my other friends. You think I give a damn that I used your friends against you? Oh, that's so good.
It's like the fucking Punisher of Mario villains. It's just like I've been in the Nam side of things.
I know, you realize just how fucked up Mario is. Alright, real quick before we go on to ratings, just gonna get your thoughts. Mario vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who wins?
Oh, that's a tough call, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like the Turtles might have the more serious edge, but I also feel like they will just be completely dumbfounded by Mario, and they always seem to lose their first fight with someone. So I think Turtles take the rematch, Mario takes the initial win victory.
Okay, but who wins the third match?
Who wins the third
deciding
match? The answer is, of course, they team up to fight Shredder, who interrupted it. No, Bowser and Shredder armor. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the sound of your voice when you're excited about something.
So hype.
There's got to be fan art of that, right? That's got to be a thing. Oh man. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and go into ratings. I'll give Super Mario Bros. Z. I think it's fair to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Mario villains using Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, I was surprised you went that high, honestly, how you were talking about it.
I mean, I did really enjoy it. It's just there's enough things wrong with it that it's hard to talk about. It's hard not to talk about them. But, like, the stuff I do enjoy a lot, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's cool, then. I'm glad to hear it. Like, I'm glad you had a good time with it, at the very least. It's somewhat a sleepy time, though.
Sleepy time.
He's a sleepy boy. For me, though, again, this is very close to my heart. It's something I grew up on. But, like, just being, like, an objective reviewer, and especially on the very unlikely chance that the creator ever decides to listen to this and then listens all the way through, I do want to emphasize that there are, again, definite flow points in this that can be tightened up and should really be tightened up, because the premise is so gold and the execution is, for like what you're here for, is so good. It's just that one little thing that stops it from becoming like a classic. Like, you can just watch this and recommend it to other people. Just those that held back with like dialogue writing, character writing, and just making sure that there actually is some meat behind the intention of the characters. Or even then, if you're not going to be meat, just even strip it down even further then. Go pure simple and just make it a cool visual tour de force. So for that, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Luigi, oh, Mario! Those.
Good one. Alrighty. Well, everyone, as talked about last week, I'm going to be off on hiatus for a couple months here, maybe a month, maybe longer, because my daughter's being born. If all goes well, she'll be born the day before this was posted. So, that's cool. Hi, child.
Hi, child. What time to watch Super Mario Bros.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really excited for that, but of course I'm going to be taking some time off. So Alfie and I will be back for fan film reviews sometime in the future. But do make sure to stick around on the channel. Alfie's going to be taking the reins of Geeky Gentleman for the meantime. Hopefully he doesn't screw it up and gives you all the high quality content you've come to expect.
Me.
Alright. Until then, everyone, I'm the Philosopher.
And I am the person who's going to ruin the channel.
Oh god. And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.